as Wilco makes a run ahead of him. Bergkamp suddenly changed pace through the centre. It's Bergkamp! That's magnificent! The move, and then this, which left Davies Ass totally stranded.
Namaste. Welcome to Bergkamp Wonderland. We are an Arsenal podcast, and I have just come home from yoga. Bloody hell, did I need some spiritual interventions after watching that shower of shit on Saturday. My name is Kris. I am your host, and as you can tell, I'm on form tonight. Fortunately, I've also got a man who never, ever fails to let the side down to accompany me in this journey of discovery. Carl, of course, I'm talking about you. How are you, sir?
I've just discovered that Danny's not wearing any trousers, and as you can imagine, I am shook to my core.
I sent your hair grey.
Why would you need to mention that? Like, watching Arsenal, every single grey hair that I have now is a loss or a time that Arsenal has caused me stress. And as you can tell, there's quite a few of them.
Which leads me nicely on to say, wherever we get talent on the podcast, we also have to have Danny. Hello, Daniel.
I'm going to go and edit the beginning of this show because you started it. Hello, my name is Kris, and I have just come in from yoga. So we're going to have that little clip on its own.
I have been thinking for a number of months now, and I keep forgetting to mention to you that the in thing on YouTube now is shorts. So I can't help but feel that there are plenty of clips that you could uncover from the archives that you could put on a shorts channel. So if you'd like to monetize that, that'd be fantastic.
Do you remember the days when we used to care? We used to do a Christmas outtake special.
No, I don't remember those days.
It's our 10th season, people. 10 years of coming in your ears.
I've known you for... So I must have known
Christ.
you for like 8 years then.
Well, yeah, I think maybe even longer than that because I knew you on Twitter. I mean, I had you blocked, but I knew who you were.
Fair enough, to be honest. Seems like no better way to introduce the show. Yes, well, I have just come from yoga. So there you go. And it was very lovely. But what was not lovely was Saturday. We're gonna go in straight away because who wants to talk about transfers? We did all that last week. Let's just talk about games and football. So, Carl, I will come to you first of all. So I watched the game on Saturday. I've listened to a couple of podcasts since the game, Arsenal and non-bias, so general football podcast and Arsenal podcast. And I was genuinely quite surprised by the two leading Arsenal podcasts that I listened to, those being Arsenal Vision and Arscast. Both seem to suggest that we had good spells in the game and we actually played all right. And ultimately, Everton took their chance and therefore got the points. I'm just going to ask you straight up. That's bullshit, isn't it? Because I thought we were fucking abysmal on Saturday. And I know we had one due, and Jeff and I were talking in earlier on, and we didn't want to mention the W word, wobble. But we were really poor. Am I wrong, or did you see what I saw? Because I just didn't see any positives from Saturday at all.
Positives are kind of hard to take from a game like that. I think the only positives to take from that game is we need to change when teams play against us like that. And a lot of teams are going to see what Everton did and try and mirror that. That's for sure. So Mikel and his coaching staff need to come up with a game plan. So when teams come up and play that sort of low block, narrow game against us, because that's what they did. What they did, Everton, and they did it. I'm sick of people talking about how it was negative football. Listen, Everton had a game plan and they executed that game plan absolutely perfectly. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sorry, there isn't. At the end of the day, they had a game plan because they couldn't beat us like normally open game of football because we would annihilate them. So they had a new manager bounce. They came with a game plan, which was to play narrow, isolate Xhaka and Odegaard, leave Martinelli alone, and then double up on him. And also double up on Saka in the wide areas. and it worked. Somehow it worked, and we just couldn't get out of midfield. I felt like they pressed really, really well, Everton, and I don't think, me included, I don't think anyone thought that they could do that for the whole game. And then once they kind of went 1-0 up, they didn't need to do that, because all they needed to do was just sit back and hit us on the break and hit them balls up to Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin is extremely good in the air. He'll knock it down. And then he had the midfielders around him. Onana was, I think, man of the match. I think he was absolutely brilliant. And the Everton backline was absolutely brilliant. 35-year-old Seamus Coleman dealt with Martinelli perfectly. He was brilliant. And he also had the support as well from the Everton midfield. So, I'm not going to criticize Everton about the way they played, because, like I said, they had a game plan. It worked. So be it. Like, it is what it is. And that's how Sean Dyche wants to play football. Is it a negative way of playing football? Yes, it is. It's not pleasing to the eye whatsoever. But we're bitter because we lost that game. And, it's hard to take, especially when we've been playing so well. But at the end of the day, you have to give Everton a little bit of credit, because a fact of the matter is that they had the same players that Frank Lampard had, and they were on some mad losing streak. They had a new manager. He's changed the way they play, and he's managed to get a result against the league leaders, which is no easy feat. I didn't think we played well. I didn't think we deserved anything from that game either. I think we had maybe 2 good chances, maybe the Nketiah one and the Saka one that was cleared off the line. Apart from that, I can't really think of any other chances that we had in the game. Oh, sorry, the Odegaard one as well, which went over the bar, which he really, really should have put away. But it just wasn't our day. It just wasn't our day. And we're going to have games like this. We're going to have times where we don't, win and we don't play well. It's just one of those things. And I think it's how you recover. That's really important. We've got Brentford on Saturday, I want to say. So, at home as well. So we're going to have the home crowd against us. Brentford might see what Everton did and try and mirror that. I think with the home support, I think we'll be better. But do you know what? It was just one of those games. You just got to brush it off. We're not going to go unbeaten for the rest of the season. And no is any other team, because as you saw, Man City lost to the Scum, and they're going to drop points as well.
Yeah, agreed. And I'll come back to you in a second with regards to Dyche Ball, because there was just one issue I had with it. But largely, I agree with you. That it was appealing to watch, not really. But is that what they need to do to get points? Absolutely. Danny, the manager's taken a little bit of stick for the substitutions in this game. I tend to agree. And, it's important to remember that you can be critical without slagging someone off. Not you, I mean, people in general. So there's no harm in saying that maybe Mikel got a couple of bits and bobs wrong in this one. The Partey one seemed to be a strange one for Jorginho, because he's obviously our most influential midfielder, unless he was maybe not fully fit, which is the speculation. But the other ones that confused me, bringing off Odegaard, although he wasn't having the best day, seemed an odd one. Maybe not bringing on Kieran Tierney to have a more sort of overlapping type of feel down that left wing, because Zinchenko also didn't have his best day, or Everton certainly marked him out of coming inside. And, the Martinelli one for Trossard, I sort of understood, although I wouldn't have been against Trossard coming on and playing alongside Nketiah as more of a 2 rather than shunting that forward line around. Did you feel the same way in terms of the substitutions, or did you just think that we could have brought on prime Ronaldo and it wouldn't have made a damn bit of difference?
Well, looking at the whole thing, the thing I got from the game, apart from the substitutes, was Eddie Nketiah had 2 touches. That's it. He had 2 touches the entire game, which is unbelievable. He had 1.1% possession. And that you can't win a game if you aren't in a position to score goals. Odegaard and Saka are having an off day. The substitutions are a little bit weird. I know that Partey came off in the previous game, and they said he had a problem with his ribs, and so then he's taking him off maybe as another precaution. Maybe he had a knock or something like that. Protecting Partey is really important, because without him we are absolutely knackered. Jorginho looked like a typical Chelsea player that we've just bought. I mean, that's the worst kind of debut you can think of for a player like that. But I did wonder when Odegaard came off, I thought, well, he would remember a little while ago, he didn't want to bring on Vieira because it wasn't the right type of game for Vieira. It was a little bit too rough for him. I thought, who were we playing that game against? And I think we only made one substitute.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I can't think of what team it was, but I know what you mean, yeah.
Why would you bring it on, do it against Everton? Eventually, Odegaard is going to come good. He does, considering Odegaard is one of our best players, he's taken off a hell of a lot of the time. Usually about 60, 70, 75 minutes, something like that. And I find those substitutions really odd. But I think the main problem is Eddie not being able to score. But remember that scene from the Life of Brian, where you've got the gladiator with a sword and all that lot, and he's all the armor, and he's standing there, and the bloke goes in there with no weapons, and the only way he can do it is by dirty tactics, running around till the bloke drops dead from a heart attack. Well, that's what Everton did. They knew like Carl was saying, they knew they couldn't compete with us playing football, so they just resorted to doing something from set pieces. He had 2 days at that club, like they were saying. I think it was the Athletic podcast, or it was the AC Jimba. They were saying they had 5 corners, and each time it was the same thing, trying to get it to Tchaikovsky, which isn't his name, trying to get it at the far post, because they know, because they know they're going to have to. The only way you're going to beat Arsenal is roughing them up, set pieces, and not allowing them to play. I mean, when you're coming up against us, and they're playing 5 in midfield, I think they had 3 defensive midfielders, didn't they? I mean, it's well done to Everton. You've done a job on us, but what can we do about that next time? Yeah, that is a question, because I think not many teams in the Premier League will be happy playing that game in week in, week out. I think Villa will do it against us when we play them. As we know, Emery will bore anyone to tears. And so it is a little bit concerning that such a rub. But then again, I had a prediction. I said a couple of weeks ago, when we play Everton, we're going to get 6 or 7 goals against them. In the preview, I said we're going to beat them 2-1. And Allardyce hasn't even got a good managerial record against Arsenal, has he? Was it 1 win in 14?
Allardyce, same thing.
That's it.
Really.
I get those 2 mixed. Yeah,
just less wine. But yeah. Is there an argument, though? You just saying that? I'll stick with you for a second, Danny. Is there an argument that, and I don't think this goes just for Arsenal, but in the modern era of coaching, where everything is coached within an inch of its life, no more so than how Mikel structures his sides. Is there not an argument to say that maybe teams of our profile, indeed every team, should actually think about changing tactics for certain? Because I do feel a little bit like, and it's not just us. All the big teams do it. They have this sort of complex of like, well, if we play our game, it doesn't matter what the opposition will do. We'll beat them. I just wonder if we'd have gone up there and maybe played 3 at the back, for example, and tried to overload them in midfield by pushing the fullbacks right into midfield, playing 2 up front, i.e. playing either Martinelli or Trossard in that hole alongside Odegaard behind Nketiah, and just totally, because you, like Carl said, and like you said, you knew what you were going to get from Dyche. You knew it was going to be 4-4-2. He did a bloody masterclass or whatever these things are. He literally, somebody's put a video of what he described and what happened. It was absolutely on the money. The V on the edge of the 18-yard box, stopping shots, etc. I want to touch on the fouling with Carl in a minute, so I'll come on to that. But is there not an argument? Well, we should have gone, do you know what? It's a new manager, bounce. We know he's going to get a reaction out of him. Why don't we change our tactics and totally throw off? Because Dyche would have known what we were going to do, right?
Yeah, someone was just saying in the chat, Matt D'Souza, changes I'd like to see. Tierney and Tommy on, and maybe switch Saka and Martinelli and try and get around the back. Like I'm playing Football Manager at the moment, Gloucester City, it's a nightmare. I've decided to play attacking football at home, 2 up front with wingers, and then when I'm away, I will play 4 at the back, holding defensive midfielder and 2 other holding midfielders. So Tierney would have loved this game. He'd have gone, you ain't going to barge me out the way. You ain't going to bully me in this game. Big Bob Holding, a northern lad, he's going to come in there and put his foot down. Saliba, I thought, looked lost at times, which is, this game's not.
I disagree with that. I thought him and Gabriel were our 2 best players on the day. To be honest, I thought I think the only reason the goal was scored is because I think it's Doucouré stopped Saliba
in front of him.
And that's the only reason they scored that goal, because I thought everything else, I thought it was very good. But
a couple of times I saw Saliba and I thought he had that look on his face like, oh, this is.
Yeah, but so would you. So would you if you went to Liverpool for a whole 24 hours, Danny. I mean, nobody wants to be there, do they?
I don't mean he had an overall bad game, but he just looked like he wasn't happy with it. And this was it's probably because it's not something he's come up against before. I mean, I doubt they play that kind of football in France where they just go, no, we're going to kill the game. We're not doing any of that lot.
You clearly haven't watched much of Montpellier or the old version of Reims or Angers, but yeah, I know what you mean.
No, I haven't. No. So
you surprised me.
I've not been watching much football lately. I've been busy trying to get Gloucester promoted and having an absolute nightmare with it.
And
Loki,
sleeping.
are you in? Loki's in the chat. Are you finally on Twitter, Loki? I think we've got a question there from someone called Loki71 on Twitter. He's got 2 followers. I
genuinely thought you were talking about my cat for a minute there, and that really threw me.
Is your cat called Loki?
He is, yeah.
Oh, you changed his name?
No, that was his original name. I was going to change it, and I stuck with it in the end.
Okay.
It kind of works. Anyway, less cats. Carl, I agree with you, and I agree with Danny about, sometimes you just got to swing your hands in the air and go, swing your hands in the air, fling your hands in the air, or swing them, whatever you prefer. We don't judge here. We're an open community. But sometimes you just got to accept it and say, fine, we're going to get these results, especially the new manager bouts. We all knew it when Lampard was sacked. We all sort of went, because we just knew what's coming. But, and there's a little bit of a but here, can we just talk about the persistent fouling and once again, or just abysmal refereeing? And this is not, again, this is not me saying we would have won the game if it hadn't been for the referee, etc. But for me, it's a blatant penalty on Gabriel. I genuinely don't understand what people have seen to make them go, oh yeah, but he fouls the guy to foul. No, he's fouled. Like, end of story. He's fouled. It's a pen. And I think the Arsenal photographer, Pricey, on his Instagram, he's put a selection of pictures of Bukayo Saka on. I think there's about 7, maybe 8 photos. Every single picture he has put up is an Everton player with a handful like this of his shirt. How many fucking times? Like, A, what's the point of VAR if you're not going to pull up these major incidents like the penalty, which wasn't even checked from what I can gather? And B, why do referees not, even at Sunday League level, if you pull someone's shirt, the referee just books you. There's no messing around. Why are teams allowed to get away with this? Because it just ruined any flow that we got. Every time we got away, slide kick here, pull of the shirt there. I know it's tactical fouling, but it really cheesed me off. Did you see that as well?
Yeah, if you remember at the start of the season, there was a directive come out that referees were going to let the game go and they were going to let certain fouls go. They weren't going to be so hot on the whistle. And then we played Man United, and then they ruled out a goal, perfectly good goal, because Odegaard apparently fouled, I think it was Fred. So it swings around about. And then remember that same day, Brighton had a goal ruled in their favour, which was a worse foul than Odegaard on the Man United player. So I'm kind of sick and tired of talking about how bad the refereeing is in England. It's atrocious. It's really, really bad. And I can't remember what game it was. It wasn't an Arsenal game. It was a game I was watching. It may have been Tottenham Man United. I'm sorry, it may have been Tottenham Man City, I think it was. And that referee,
Leeds Forest was bad as well.
It was absolutely so bad. And I was like, as a neutral, you can watch these certain games and you can just think, if that was my team, I would be absolutely fuming, because the referee was just literally blowing for fouls that wasn't fouls and stuff that were blatant fouls. And even some of the players thought it was foul. He was just letting it go. Like, it was just absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's just, I'm sick of talking about how bad referees are. And it's just, yeah, there's nothing we're going to do about it, What can you do? The new refereeing director's come in and he said he's going to change stuff and make stuff more transparent. And apparently we're supposed to be hearing what the VAR say in the room, and it's going to be more transparent. I don't think that's going to come, because I'm not saying they're unprofessional in that room, but you can imagine, the talk that goes in that room. I'll get up. He's nowhere a foul. I think all those tapes. I wish there could be a Freedom of Information request that I could make and say, I want to hear all those recordings. I want to hear the rationale why they ruled out the Arsenal goal against Manchester United. I want to hear the rationale of why there wasn't a penalty given against Gabriel. It was a penalty, but it swings and roundabouts. You're going to get them in this season. You're not going to get them. And I don't mind if like it's not given, but give me the reason why. What's your rationale? In everyone's job, in my job, if I do something, I need to have a rationale of why I've done that, because you know football is a multi-million pound business, multi-billion pound business if you declare it properly, Manzi. But what I'm saying is yes, but what I'm saying is there's such big decisions that are made within and it's all in one person's grasp. So you know teams can get relegated, championships can get won, you know, and for someone to not make the correct call based on their opinion and their assumption, you know, okay, that's fine because your opinion is that it wasn't a foul, but why do you feel it's not a foul when everybody else thinks it does? What's your rationale? And that for me just needs a little bit of transparency. I was listening to, maybe it was Arscast, I can't remember, and I think one of them was saying that they want the referee to be faceless and not know and it not be seen. And in a way I agree, but at the same time, you know, I want to know your decision making, because you may say something that may spark my sort of brain and be like, oh yeah, you're right actually, like because of this and that and the other. So you know, we're all opinionated and we've all got our different views of how we view like games and stuff like that. And as Arsenal fans, are we a little bit biased? Of course we are. Why would we not be? Like that's the team that we support. But it was just really refreshing to watch a game as a neutral. I'm sure it was Man City, Tottenham, and I just thought this referee is absolutely atrocious. And
Eric Dyer fouled Jack Grealish about 14 times in the space of 3 minutes and got away with every single one of them. It's like, I know Grealish likes a
bizarre.
Fall, but,
yeah, it was just bizarre. And some of the times, you know, he was not diving, but Grealish goes down very easy. Like there were times where he was running, he would look back to see where the player is, almost slow down and then stop and then get the foul. And you think to yourself, that shouldn't be a foul. And I know they say VAR shouldn't be used for things like that. And to an extent, they're probably right. But at the same time, you just got to look at that and think, come on, like someone should have a word, like VAR should have a word in the referee's ear and just say, look, he's gone down really easy there. So just watch him. And then is that a way of is that being biased, like to the referee? I don't know, but something's got to get done.
You say that. I'm going to pop my tinfoil hat on here a second for two reasons on VAR. One, when we get the, I call it the Tony Adams, the syndrome of Tony Adams back in the day of you are a cheat. I am not a cheat, young man. Was it David Ellery? When we get that come in, I have a tinfoil hat theory that all the broadcasters are going to have 5-second delays on live transmission. I don't think they're going to tell everybody, but I think that's how they're going to do it, because there is no way that you won't pick up some swearing or whatnot. And I know everyone, whenever you talk about VAR, the first thing people say is, well, rugby's a gentleman's sport. Yeah, rugby's also shit and no one cares. So let's just not talk about rugby. That's the reason that is a thing, right? But football's a different type of sport. You've got supporters swearing, you've got players swearing. It blows my mind that in the era, we think back to the era of Wayne Rooney, you'd like swear in a referee's face. Referees just don't book. The amount of times Arsenal have been charged for surrounding referees and that, it happens every week. And the amount of times you see, when I have a little dabble on games, I like a little bet where it's like total number of goals, corners, and bookings as like a bet builder. So I'm naturally always looking for bookings when I've gone overs in bookings. And the amount of times you see players run over to linesmen, effing and jeffing in their face, same to referees. And I know there's got to be a bit of, treat them like adults, and there's going to be frustration. But if a player runs up to you in your face and goes, ref, you're fucking shit. You got this fucking wrong. You have just book them, because I guarantee you within 2 weeks, it will stop all that. It will instantly stop all that. But I genuinely think because of that sort of situation and because you have players crowding around a referee, they will delay the coverage by 5 seconds. And that 5 seconds gives you enough time that if you need to slightly edit what's said, or you just need to get a word to Stockley Park and say, oh, careful, guys. Exactly. Conveniently mute the audio just for a second so there isn't anything
like they did at the weekend when
exactly
the Everton game. They muted out when the Everton fans were thinking about the red shite or something. They
precisely
muted it.
Exactly. And the other thing I've got, the other tinfoil hat situation I've got on that one as well is, I think the referees are already having communication for VAR. Do you remember the Zidane incident with the World Cup and the whole, did he look at the monitor? Was he informed through the earpiece? And that's how he sent him off. I am convinced, and until I hear otherwise, this is how I'm going to think about it. When there's a controversial decision and the referee always been asked, he's been told by VAR to go and look at the monitor. Are you seriously telling me that throughout the 90 minutes of a game, somebody clatters into somebody, right? Instantly, I'm telling you now, the referee will be like, next time it's out of play, wait. Or next time the ball goes that way, hold it, or there's a corner, hold it. And just, or almost in the referee's mind, just go, can you just do up your laces a second? I need to have a quick look at this. There's no way that every time they go to the monitor, that's the only time they're being fed information in their ear. I don't buy it. So that, to me, leads me to think that they only actually go to the monitor when it creates a bit of drama, when it creates a bit of, because some of these decisions are so obvious, and yet they still make little Johnny trot across and look at the monitor. It's an entertainment business. And I call shithouse on that. I think there's an element of, building the suspense, building the drama, and getting bums on the seat. I'm convinced of it. That's just my tinfoil hat, but I'm yet to be convinced otherwise.
I think they all need a little bit of football's entertainment at the same time, and they want to add to that drama and suspense. That's why there's always that mad delay, or when there's a goal scored. And I hate it, the fact that you can score a goal and then you celebrate, and then you go to the monitor, and then you either celebrate again or you can't. I just feel like there's got to be a faster way of checking whether it's offside or checking the handball or something along them lines. And hopefully, I mean, I'm not a fan of VAR. I hate it. I would get rid of it tomorrow. I genuinely would. If something's offside and you want to talk about it for days on end, and it's fine, but I just don't like it because I feel like it's getting dragged more and more into the game. And then again, it's still interpretation. It's still what the referee thinks, and for me, that's not how football should be played. Like, if the referee doesn't see it on the pitch, then so be it. If the linesman makes a mistake, fuck it, it is where it is, isn't it?
Yeah. I sat through Blackburn against Wigan on Monday night last night. It was a 0-0 draw, but it was actually quite a decent game of football. And the one thing I loved about it was just the fact that you knew no matter what happened, there was nothing going to be going to a referee's screen, or if a goal was scored or it wasn't, it was just, that was it. That was the game. Same with the FA Cup games. Was that Wrexham Sheffield United, the first leg? 2 of the goals are probably a bit questionable, but it was just like, it was raw. It was entertainment. And I know that if we took it away, we would have that. He was fucking offside. He wasn't this, but I'd take that back in a heartbeat. And as And has put in the chat, it's not so much the transparency that's the major issue. The major issue is 90% of the referees we have are just not up to it and are not good enough. It's not just an Arsenal problem; it is a league-wide problem. There are so many games that I settle down on a Sunday afternoon just to watch a game of football, and I find myself just zoning out because the games are just ruined by the stop-start. It's just bad refereing. Anyway, enough about referees. Danny, let's go back to Arsenal. Is there, and this is just debate. We've all been really impressed with what Eddie's done this season. I think he's surprised and certainly put a few people to rights, me included, in how he's performed. But is that particularly that chance that he blazed over on Saturday? Is that where the lack of a Jesus is going to sort of tell potentially? And I'm not talking like the whole season, but just overall, because I just felt like that was a better chance than has gone down. Some people are saying, it's a half chance. I thought it was a really good chance. He just needed to keep his head down and drill it across goal, force Pickford to put out his little T-Rex hands and palm it into the path of someone else. I just thought I thought his shot selection was all wrong. And as I say, not throwing the guy under the bus, he's been brilliant. But is that the difference? Because I think Jesus in that position probably gets a better shot away.
Yeah, thinking back here, there was a couple of them. There was somebody else who did that as well. I mean, Eddie's young; he's learning his game. You're not a decent. You've not reached your level as a striker until you're mid-20s, 25, 26, something like that. And he did do that, but then there was somebody else who also did the same thing. I know we've had a lot of Zinchenko cutting in his inverted winger thing. Hello, Soph. Should be nice about you, Kris.
There is actually some washing. I don't know. There's a duvet.
Oh.
There's a duvet there. See that there.
Silk, obviously.
No, brush cotton. I'm not a pig. Come on. Yeah.
No. Excellent. And the Zinchenko did that twice, and I think he might have been against Man City. It might have been this game. I'm getting them mixed up. But he cuts inside, and he had shots that weren't even on target. I think Trossard might have had a couple in the game as well, where he was having shots and they weren't on target. Now, I'd say to the players, if you're going to have a shot and you don't at least get it on target, then after the game, you're going to go out there and you're going to have 100 shots until you get 100 on target, because it is ridiculous. People at the top of their game not being able to get it on target. Now, if the ball comes in and you're half volleying it, then you get away with it. But if you've got the ball and you're running at the goal and then you decide to have a pot shot, like Xhaka, like Partey are renowned for doing, and you don't get it on target, that is unforgivable. Because remember, back in the days, the Wimbledon manager used to say, I want everybody to have, 10 or 20 shots at goal per player per half, or attempts, or just test the goalkeeper. We've seen that work so often in the Premier League. You spank it hard enough, you're going to put then the goal is going to be a little bit worried because he knows you're going to be doing this. But just constantly getting the shots miles off target, there's no excuse for it. And it is annoying. And in that game, we could see we were going to get so few chances to do anything. And Odegaard's guilty of that as well. Don't shoot it unless you know it's going to be on target or at the goalie or close.
That was a big chance, Odegaard. Like Carl said, that was the chance along with Eddie's, wasn't it? I just thought he, unusually for him, lost his composure when he blasted that over, because it was a really good cutback from Eddie, in fairness.
Indeed, yeah. So, I mean, it's something he'll learn and add to his game. But like you were asking, would Jesus have done that? I think he's been a pro long enough to know where to take it a little bit steadier. Maybe, I think it might have been the Man City game. People were taking too long with the ball as well, which is something Ian Wright and Henry never did. They would get the ball and they didn't. You could blindfold them and they'll get the shot on target. That's something else they need to work on as well. Because in this high level football that we're playing in the Premier League, you don't get enough chance to bring the ball down, have another touch, and then have a shot. We've seen a lot of that this season as well. But I think, is that the first game this season that we've not, well, apart from the Man City game in the league, isn't that the first game? In Newcastle that we haven't scored a goal.
Yeah, certainly. I can't think of many others if there is.
I mean, not scoring a goal against Newcastle is understandable because they don't let goals in. But Everton, good God, to not score against Everton is a crime. But they had a plan. Their plan worked.
Yeah, agreed. Carl, just to draw a line under Everton, because I want to talk about a couple of non-Arsenal things tonight. Well, a couple of Arsenal things, a couple of non-Arsenal things. Why not? Just drawing a line under it, though, we shouldn't panic, should we? We'll come on to the result on Sunday in the next segment in a second. But it's, if anything, I guess you could say it's just a missed opportunity that we could have gone even further ahead of Man City. But overall, we all knew we weren't going to lose or weren't going to win every game to the end of the season. We knew we were going to take a loss at some point. And in a way, isn't it almost kind of refreshing not to see how many there were very silly people on the internet, which I know, silly people on the internet, like who'd have thought, but there were some silly people on the internet on Sunday night. Yeah, Martinelli shouldn't have got that contract, but fuck off. But other than that, is it actually a sign of how far we've come when we lose one game and we're all like devastated? Because I think 6 to 8 months ago, we'd have been like, Everton away, lost. Oh, well, it's actually, it shows how far we've come. Well, yeah, but I mean, you know what I mean? It's like on the grand scheme of things, the very fact that we're actually all now genuinely disappointed that we've lost a game, that shows how far we've come. Does it?
The fact that we have an expectation to win every game says it all. Yeah, and I think that's a sign of how well this Arsenal squad have done, just how well Mikel Arteta has done with this squad. Look, we was never going to go unbeaten for the rest of the season, and I think people are so stupid. It's not even the level. I think more people are annoyed at the level of opposition that we lost to, because Everton are a shit team. Let's be very honest, and they were one of my favourites to go down. I think Sean Dyche may just get them enough points to probably stay up just the way they're. I think it's Southampton and two others, Southampton, Bournemouth, and another who are going to go down. And for me, it's a case of the fact that Everton were playing so well, but their new manager bounce is a real thing. I think it's so.
Lopetegui at Wolves.
Yeah, I feel like Sean Dyche has probably gone up there. He's probably gone in there and given them the old, we are definitely playing. This is how we're going to play now. We're going to play anti-football. Frank Lampard tried to play football with that Everton squad, and they, apart from maybe Onana, I don't rate anyone else in the Everton squad. Connor Cody, don't think he's very good. The goalkeeper, not very good. Maybe DCL up front. Apart from that, Everton don't have very good players, but it's just how they play. Yeah, and he's the legs, and he done a lot of running that game. Like, he was everywhere that game, and I get playing against your old club, new manager, you just want to run, and he had a job just like everyone else, and they executed it perfectly. But do you know what? I'm not worried. Like, we were never going to win every single game. It's just how you bounce back from it, and the real test is Brentford the next game. That is the real test. How do we cope with this loss? How mentally, what does it do for us? Does Mikel Arteta need to change up the squad? I think we got questions whether Ben White should be in, or should we give Partey a rest, Xhaka, whatever. We got questions about that, so we won't touch on that right now. But Mikel Arteta himself has got questions to ask himself. Like, what do we do? Do we keep playing why Messi's success? If the team that we've been playing has brought us here to a certain point, should we mess it up? Do we need to change it? It's a long road. We've got 18 games left, I feel, and those 18 games are going to come thick and fast, and teams are going to challenge us. There's going to be teams who are literally scrapping for their survival in the Premier League, and their game plan will be to waste time from minute one. It will be to have a low block, keep the ball contained, and as normal, hit it up to the big man up front. That will be their game. It will be a case of we will sit back until Arsenal break us down. And if Arsenal can't break us down, then, we've done well. And a lot of teams will do that. And if they go 1-0 down, they'll probably be like, okay, maybe we might need to push out a little bit. Because people know if you give Arsenal space, we will annihilate you. Like, we have such good movement, and our midfield is so good, and our attackers are really, really good. Saka, Martinelli, and also Nketiah, we're just brilliant. And I feel like teams right now, they're going to be, right, how do we frustrate Arsenal? And that's what they're going to do. They're going to literally try and frustrate us. And this is why it's so important to take your chances, like Danny and yourself were saying, Chris, that if we take our chances and we score, then teams have to come out because they have to try and get a point or try and attack us, so they're not just sitting back for the whole game. And it's just something we've got to deal with. But I'm not worried. I'm not worried the fact that we're going to go on. Like last season, when we lost one game, we'd go on like a 3-game losing streak, and the season before. I don't think that's going to happen this season.
Yeah, I feel the same. I feel the same way. I would back us to come back on Saturday. And in a weird way, the fact it's a 3:00 non-televised game, I think would do us the world of good, because it just takes that pressure off a little bit, just to say, go out there. But obviously, the eyes are on us from afar, but it's not. We don't have to have the BT studio wanking each other off with, Rio Ferdinand-esque enthusiasm whenever we concede. by the way, Rio, if you're watching, and I know you are because you're a big fan,
Yes.
you're a wanker, mate. All right, you're a wanker.
Do you know what makes me laugh? That the fact that why does everybody not want us to win the title?
I don't
Man
get
City
it.
to win the title. Like Man City have been winning the title like year after year after year. Like Arsenal haven't been here. Like why are they so against Arsenal winning the title?
Jealousy. That's what it is.
Because we're like Leicester, come from nowhere to win the league. Look like we're going to win the league, and you think, oh, there'll be a little bit. But Dean, the Everton fan who was on the last week, he wants us to win it.
I think we're a lot of people's second favourite team, but because we're we've got a history and we're a big London club, etc. There's jealousy there. There is, especially for Man United fans. They haven't been relevant for 10 years. Like, do you know what I mean?
You know how many Man United and Liverpool and Spurs fans have infiltrated the media?
Well, look at Liverpool. Look at this absolute dumpster fire that is right now. You got Clippity Klopp not even giving it, interviews to journalists that because he doesn't like the the cut of their jib. I mean, it's embarrassing. Like,
and they're getting a free pass. If this was Arsenal languishing down in ninth, they would be. They stalked us when we finished 8th.
Yeah,
Liverpool seems to be getting a free pass.
Exactly. So I mean, but you know what? That's fine. Haters gonna hate. Doesn't bother me. If we lift that trophy, I couldn't give a monkeys. I really couldn't. And of course, let's not forget, in the interest of balance, we are always going to see it from an Arsenal perspective because we're Arsenal fans, so we are going to be a bit biased. But I genuinely don't see videos of the BT crew or the Sky crew, when Man United get humped by City or City get humped by Spurs. You don't see any viral videos of any other companies giving it large about teams, do you? It's only everyone else. I wonder why that is. I wonder. Anyway, maybe it's because our fan base bite,
Boy 10 on YouTube's made a good point here. He says, they don't want us to win because we went undefeated, built a new stadium without some trillionaire's oil money, and now we've come all the way back, all on our own with Silent Stan and rookie Arteta.
Because even Leicester were bankrolled heavily to win that title, weren't they? I know it's a huge achievement, but they still had a lot of backing to get in there. And I agree. I think us actually going and building a squad of younger players, and we've spent money, of course we have, but building it from the bottom up, we were literally at rock bottom. To then come back so fast, I think will go against the narrative of you have to spend to be successful. So,
but if we win it, can we do it again next season? Do you think?
Oh, let's not go there, Danny. let's try and get this one won first, and then we'll see where we are. But speaking of winning it, I want to get both your opinions on the Man City situation. I'll share mine in a second. First things first, they lost to some pub team on Sunday. I don't know who they are.
Some team from Hertfordshire.
Sposfer, Armitage Shanks, I don't know, some team with some bloke up front who scored 4 goals or something. But anyway, they did lose. I wasn't cheering them on. I'd be honest, unless there was an acid shower, I couldn't give a toss who won that game, to be perfectly honest. But here we are, in the cold light of day, they did win. That is that lot. How did you feel, Danny? Did you look at it and go, actually, it makes the Everton game even more annoying now because we could have been 8 points clear with a game in hand? Or do you look at it and go, well, actually, we're one game further down the line and we haven't lost any points. So, win-win.
There was a big thing in the media, and those morons on Radio 5 did a thing of it. Were you an Arsenal fan? Were you hoping Spurs were going to win? Were you celebrating? And Arsenal fans are ringing up and going, oh, well, yeah, I would. Oh, and Robbie Savage is going, but you wanted Spurs to win. I wanted to ring up and go, yeah. They go, did you want Spurs to win? I go, well, if everything I wanted happened, you two wouldn't be doing this show. It'd be Ian Wright and Kelly Cates. You two would never do radio again. And Spurs would be battling relegation every single season. I don't want to get relegated because we need them 6 points like the olden days. And so I didn't care. It makes no difference. Yeah, I wanted Spurs to lose 10-0. That'd have been hilarious. I wanted Harry Kane to break his leg and never play football again. That'd have been hilarious. None of that's happened. So whether I want Arsenal to win, lose, draw, and I want Spurs to win, lose, or draw, it makes no odds to it. I'm glad that Man City drop points. I don't care who they drop points against. And if Spurs are going to beat Man City, I'd rather them scrape a 1-0 win rather than go out there and smash them 7-0 and they all go, oh, Son and Kane, greatest partnership in world football. I mean, that's died a death, hasn't it? The two of them could barely score in a brothel now. So, don't care. I don't care. But if Spurs lose points, that's usually my first option. But if Man City can lose points, that at the moment, that's more important than Spurs losing points because Spurs are irrelevant.
Yeah, I agree with that. And on the other flip side of that, Carl, before we come on to the off-the-pitch stuff, am I the only one who actually thinks that City are having a massive meltdown? Like, De Bruyne on the bench. Sorry, what?
All is not right
to Bayern?
All is not right at Manchester
is
City. Something has happened behind the scenes. I feel like maybe some people have questioned Pep and he's like doing the whole I'm in charge and I'll show you that I'm in charge sort of thing. So it's funny and interesting to see. And maybe they knew the off the pitch stuff was going to happen. So I don't know, might be deflection. Listen, certain things happen for certain reasons. But all is not right at Manchester City. That's definitely for sure, 100%. And long may it continue. Like, you don't put... Kevin De Bruyne is arguably the best player in the league. And for someone like that to be on the bench in a big away game, when he's not injured, tactical, there is no tactical reason for him to be on the bench. What, you were scared of Højbjerg? I don't think so. Like, who in that Spurs midfield was you scared of that you thought, oh my God, like, we can't play Kevin because Højbjerg's in midfield or Dyer is in defense? Like, there is no one in that team that Man City should have been scared of. So,
it's not just that either, is it? Ruben Dias and Laporte can't get a game. I mean, Nathan Ake's been good this year, but I don't think I think if you based it on last season's form, Dias and Laporte should be in that team. They've let Cancelo go, which clearly, whatever Pep says, he clearly fell out with Cancelo. There's absolutely he's arguably the best fullback in Europe. Exactly. Yeah. And then they've got a 12'7" gangly fuckwit up front who they just refuse to pass to, which blows my mind because he makes some really good runs. And although I do think he's a little bit overhyped, he's a finisher. And the one thing De Bruyne did when he came on was try and feed him. And they spent the entire first half just playing anywhere but to him. I don't understand it. Why buy a player if you're not going to use him? It makes zero sense to me. Like, just what's the point?
We said this pre-season. We said if you're a Dortmund fan, then you can look at the Haaland transfer and you go back and listen to the pre-season pods that we did, and we said they are changing the way they play football from winning the title without a striker to putting all their balls in the basket of balls that is give the ball to Haaland. He is going to be the centre of everything. And when you do that as a team, that doesn't usually work well if that player is off form. As we found out regularly when Henry didn't play well, we'd go, all right, he didn't play well, or didn't play at all. We go, oh, what do we do now? And they're finding that. That him going there is the worst transfer they've ever made because he is the one who's going to break that team, and then he'll be back off to Germany to Bayern probably or something.
But the stupidest part about it is if they actually fed him, they probably would still be scoring goals. Yeah. That's the bit I can't get my head around.
Back-to-back 3 hat-tricks in the beginning of the season.
He's an incredible athlete and he's a finisher. That's it. He's not going to give you link-up play. He's not going to give you 5-star skills. He's not going to give you, take it down the chest to release somebody into the channel. He's a goal scorer. The ball, that's it.
And he will score.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's
just it, innit? Like, literally,
that's what he does,
and he will score. Like, and
the
fact that you got one of the best passers in Europe, in the world, and you're not playing him screams, "I'm in charge. I'll bench you.
I'll do it my way." And arguably 3 of the most creative players in Europe over the course of the last 4 to 5 seasons in Mahrez, Bernardo Silva and Grealish when he was at Villa. So, it blows my mind. It really does. I did just want to ask you both on this off-the-pitch thing, and at the risk of slightly veering you in the direction, but I'll just share my thoughts. I've seen a lot of people get very excited this week on Twitter and various other socials about Man City, if they get fired, I saw Sky were running a poll today saying majority of Premier League clubs want to see them relegated if these if these allegations are proven. Right. My feeling on it, straight to the point and quick in and out is, are they guilty of 100 and God knows what breaches of regulations? No, they're guilty of about 400, maybe 500. They are guilty as sin. To me, there is absolutely no doubt about it. They are a sports washing monstrosity. Sticking a few football pitches and a few allotments up in Manchester and making it look green doesn't mean that you're whiter than white. It's absolute BS. They've concealed money for a number of years. They bought players out of their means. They bought their way out of the lower divisions into the top, and they bought the success that they've got. They are a manufactured club, and they're no better than Chelsea. And anyone thinks any different, go fuck yourselves, because you're wrong. However, my personal opinion is none of this will become relevant because they have so much money and so much power and so many inside people. This will go on for another 2, 3, 4 years. This won't. The most they'll get is a fine. That's it. So anyone getting excited about points deductions, I'll come on this podcast
and
naked.
They'll appeal it.
Yeah, I'll come on this podcast naked and I'll Windy Miller myself for an hour for your viewing pleasure and say nothing. I'll just do that for an hour if they get points deducted, because it's not going to happen. So that's just personally my opinion. They are 100% guilty. I think it will be proven that they're guilty, but it will be very conveniently brushed under the carpet, just like their European ban was. Remember that? That lasted all 5 minutes. I just want to get your sort. Do you feel any differently, Danny, or do you think I'm on the same page as you? For
people at home, this is the Man City before they got their oil money. Relegated in 1901-02, 1908, 09, 25, 26, 37, 38, 49, 50, 62, 63, 1982, 83, 1986, 87, 1995 from the Premier League 96, then again in 97, 98, and then relegated from the Premier League again in 2000, 2001. That, dear ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, mums and dogs, cats and elephants, that's Man City. That's what Man City did. Look, I mean, twice they conceded 100 goals a season. And that's who Man City are. And they can go and spend as much money as they want. That's who you are. You, at the moment, you are just Man United's noisy neighbours and you have bought success. I mean, Chelsea have also bought success. But when you look into some of the stuff they have done, when who was the Mancini, when he was manager of Man City, he was on £2 million a year. He was also on £2 million a year to help manage or advise a team from the
UAE, wasn't it?
The UAE, United Arab Emirates. And then they've now dug into it. And then a lot of this goes back. There's so many charges because each season since 2017, every season they've done the same thing. So every season there's 7 or 8 rules they've broken. And they've done it the next season. And because they're just not complying with the Premier League. And the Premier League said, we want all your records. And they've gone, no, you're not having them because we're not going to comply with it. And that's how they've all added up. And then they know. We said it for years on the podcast. If you want to go back and listen to all 479 of the other shows that we've done. Steve
tonight. Listen to them all tonight.
That's it. And don't forget to give them all a thumbs up. Steve,
subscribe.
Bless him, Lord Hill would always say, It's a creative accounting. They would get he said it's like Arsenal getting a company in London and then pumping that company is owned by Guy Kroenke, and then that company, Dave's Kebabs, is sponsoring the stadium for £200 million for 10 years. And
great kebabs, mate.
Yeah, Ali's Taxis are now the shirt sponsor at Arsenal for £30 million.
Superb service. Superb taxis. Very comfy.
And then you've got Alice the tea lady is sponsoring the main hoardings around the stadium. And
wonderful brew, mind. Wonderful
tea. And that, we all know they've been doing it. And as Steve would go and say back in the day, that what they have done is
splendid business.
And they've managed to pull it off. And they've been doing it. But they did say on the AC Jimbo pod, the Totally Football show, they said that the FA have got regulations. The FA own the Premier League and they own the FA Cup. You've got the Football League who own the League Cup. They've got regulations. Then you've got regulations for UEFA, regulations for FIFA, and you've got regulations for the Champions League. And there's so many regulations that you've got to. I mean, they said one of them was 300 pages of regulations, and so it's going to be hard to keep up with them when they're all different. And when you go in and out of each competition, then you've got to slightly alter the regulations that you stick with. But we know they're corrupt. We know they're lying. They know they are creative accounting, but other clubs haven't done it. And I mean, Todd Bowley's just gone out and gone, fuck it. Yeah, I have all my money. I'll just buy everyone.
Do you know, like Todd Bowley, whenever someone says his name, do you know the first thing that comes to my mind, and I can't shake it? It's the Monopoly bloke. I just can't shake him with the top hat going, oh, spending money. Don't fast go. Don't collect it. What a knobhead. Next time you see him, when his name is, when someone says his name, just think of the Monopoly dude. Carl, is there an argument, though, and feel free to share your views on what you think of whether they'll get punished or not. Is it not a little bit of a case of if they weren't owned by who they're owned by, would we actually be saying this? Because Man United were the original sports washers, weren't they? I mean, yeah, Blackburn to a degree, but because it was Jack Walker, a local businessman made good, who won Blackburn the title with the money he put in, because Man United was essentially, they were very clever in how they marketed the company or the club. They made very sound investments, and they had the merchandising capitalization back in the day. And I'm no financial expert, but yeah, it's pretty clear that's how they made their wealth. Is it just the fact that the likes of PSG, to a degree, Bayern Munich with the sponsorships they've got, Man City with the slightly odd ownership that they have, and the questionable human rights, etc. Same with Newcastle, and of course the Russian element of Chelsea. Is that why we're so uptight about this? Like, nobody questions the fact that we've got a sponsorship with Rwanda. Do you know what I mean? So is there a little bit of us going, we don't like it because we can't compete, whereas actually now we are competing, we're now sort of banging our hands on the fist, or banging our fists on the desk saying, no, they need to be punished?
A little from column A, a little from column B. Do I think that it's being highlighted because of who the owners are? 100%. Football is still, at the top level. Let me make this clear. At the top ownership level, it's still an elitist white man's game. It is sadly, that's the way it is. You look at the FA, you look at the board of the FA, you look at the board of the Premier League, all white men, age 40 and above. They don't want to break away from the norm, sadly. And anyone disagreeing with me, go and have a look at the board of the FA, go and have a look at the board of the Premier League and see who runs the show. Man City are dirty for a number of reasons, numerous reasons. The fact that they were saying that they're a more commercially viable club than Manchester United. Manchester United are the biggest club in the world, arguably, apart from Real Madrid. Commercially, there's no way. Manchester City, a club that was born in arguably 2009, something like that. Let's be very honest. Like, they were nobodies before then, and a guy's come in and pumped a whole load of money into it. I think that the Premier League are a little bit they're blind when they want to be. When Man City were buying all these players and commercially making the Premier League as big as it was, they weren't asking for records then, were they? And I think now, whereas a lot of teams have caught up and are now competing, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United to an extent, I think now this is obviously an ongoing investigation that's been happening a long time, but for me, I don't see where they're going to be punished. They're so rich, a financial penalty doesn't affect them in the slightest. Whether it be £1 million, whether it be it won't be £10 million, but let's just say it was a £10 million fine, it doesn't affect them whatsoever.
None bring it around in cash.
Back of the sofa.
So a financial fine doesn't really go anywhere. Are they arguably going to get a points deduction? No, they are not going to get a points deduction, and it won't be this season because, like you said, Chris, and I truly believe this won't be concluded for another 2 years. Like, the legal ramblings that will happen, like, I know it's gone to a panel, and they get to decide. And when Man City appeal it, it's going to go on and on and on because the hearing's not going to be straight away. It's not going to be a case of, you've brought up on a charge, you answer it today, we appeal, and then you get the appeal decision tomorrow. It will go through court, it will go through CAS, the Court of Arbitration of Sport. It will go to the highest level. It will just go on and on and on. So we're talking 2 years before this is settled. I personally think they may get a transfer embargo, maybe.
Yeah.
That's, if we're really honest, that's what I think the greatest punishment will be, a transfer embargo, where they'll be able to sell players, but they won't be able to buy players. And if they know it's coming, the season before, you watch how Man City will just buy everybody. They will just buy everybody they know, because if they they know that 2 seasons they're not going to be able to buy players or something like that. Like, they're not going to get a Champions League ban because this is not a Champions League issue. It's not a UEFA issue. It's a Premier League issue. So people got to remember this is strictly for the Premier League, and that's it. They've been guilty. We know they've been guilty. Like I said, Manchester United did it for years. I don't know what the rules were back then when I don't know if there was FFP back then when Man United were doing it and when Jack Walker was doing it. I can't speak on that. But yeah, for me, I have to, if you're going to do it, if you're going to be a fraudster, and do it quietly. Femi can answer it, because Femi's the biggest fraudster in the world. I'm telling you, that man is richer than anybody. Mr. 419, he knows what I'm talking about. But like, you can't go out and a club that's born in 2009 and say you're a bigger commercial enterprise than Manchester United. That is absolutely ludicrous. You can't, build something somewhere and then say, oh, we're a sponsorship. Or you can't have the owner of Etihad Airways say, oh, Etihad Airways is now sponsoring us, even though the owner of Etihad Airways is also the owner of Manchester City. Like, or it's in the same region. It's just it's really ridiculous. Like, and Man City are not going to get what's coming to them, unfortunately, because I don't think, one, the Premier League have the cojones to really go after them. And like I said, I really do think that this is going to go on and on and on. And have the Premier League even got the money for the lawyers that Man City are going to just tie this up in legal wrangling? So I think the most we can ask for is literally a transfer ban for Man City. And even that doesn't really do much, because like I said, the season, if they know what's coming, and they will know what's coming. Trust me, there'll be people within who will say, oh, just let you know, you may not win this, and the punishment we're going to give is a transfer ban. They'll buy everyone. Like, they'll probably buy another 2 players in each position. They'll get their transfer ban, and then they'll shrug their shoulders, okay, and they'll probably still play as it is. Like,
they could just buy Leicester and rebrand it as Man City B.
It's about, well, look at the clubs they got the partnership with. I mean, they got Troyes, they got Melbourne City, they've got
they've just taken over my Palermo.
Yeah, Palermo. They've got
ridiculous.
The way I liken the City money situation is there's a very good documentary on Sky at the moment for those old enough who will remember a gentleman by the name of Phil Spector. I'm sure, Danny, you will have known this gentleman.
Crazy hair.
Yes, indeed. Although it wasn't his.
The wig.
He is no longer with us anymore. Good riddance, in my opinion. But he was a very famous songwriter, and he was alleged to have murdered somebody in his home. And it's a very good documentary on it. And I'm sorry, but he absolutely did, in my opinion, murder somebody. However, because he had so much money and so many high-profile lawyers, that even when you watch this documentary and you listen to the lawyers who supported him and fought his case, these guys are very good at what they do. They
got away with it, didn't they?
Exactly. They literally take on cases where, from the outside looking in, you go, he is as guilty. Like, could have watched him do it. He's guilty. And yet, a lawyer, because this is their profession and they're very good at their profession and paid a lot of money to be so, lawyers to the stars, will get people off. And there is a reason why very few, if any, Hollywood celebrities or whatever go to jail. because they have ways of buying themselves out of these situations. And
it's like that solicitor. If you're a famous person in this country and you've had driving offences, he'll get you off of it, no matter what.
We'll make them go away. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that is for me why City will get away with this. Like I say, I hope I'm wrong. I'd like nothing more than to see him in League Two again with Paul Dickoff up front. It would be hilarious, but I just don't think it's going to happen. And City's such a massive club, they can't even fill their ground. Anyway, but at least we know Man City famous for being fraudsters, and they employ one as a manager. So that's good. One other topic I wanted to ask you both about before we take questions, going back to Arsenal. Actually, one other point to make, by the way, on the sports washing. If, and I mean it's a big if because they have a habit of bottling it, if PSG ever win the Champions League, they will be held on. A lot of things about PSG will come to the surface in courts if they ever actually win anything. There is a reason why a lot of their ownership has never really been taken too seriously by other big clubs, because they continually bottle the Champions League. If they actually win it one year, expect that to come out in court.
A bit like when Marseille won it.
Exactly. You heard it here first.
I mean, I just got a question, like just a really quick, I don't know if you used to mention this quickly, but just before we move topics, the fact that Chelsea have just bought any and everyone, do you think they know they're going to fail FFP, and then they know they're going to get a transfer ban, so they just think, well, we bought everyone 100%. Now, we can, deal with 2 transfer windows that we don't buy anyone, because they've got so many players. I feel like that's what they've done, where Todd Bowley, and I'm not saying this is definite, but I feel like he knows that they're going to fail it, so they just say to themselves, you know what, we're going to fail it. We bought everyone now, so give us our ban, we're fine.
Who's gone very quiet since he left the club? Is my question to you. And I'll give you a hint, he's Russian. We have not heard a thing from Abramovich, have we, since he's gone? It's all gone very, very quiet. I would not be at all surprised if there is something going on in the background where he is trying to get a lot of money out of that club. A lot of money. Because it all went very quick. It just seemed to happen, didn't it? 1 minute he was up on these charges, then he was extradited, then suddenly it was just an agreement to sell, and he was gone. And we've heard nothing about him ever since. He's gone underground. I would not be surprised at all if there's a very, very large either bill or fiddled books or something to come out as to how Bowley got in and how he spent the money. I just wouldn't be surprised. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think they know something's coming. I guess the question is what that something is. And they also, the fact they're doing these 7-year contracts, was it amortization? This is where having Steve, God rest his soul, would be and fantastic. Because, and if you want to know more about it, just follow Kieran, Swiss Ramble. He's
the other Kieran Maguire.
Or Kieran Maguire, yes, absolutely. There's a few people out there who know their stuff, but
we don't.
Because I can barely keep my count in the black myself, like nobody else. One other question, and we'll keep this one short because I want to get to the questions from our other gentlemen and ladies that have come in. I'll ask you both this. There's quite a developing story going on in France at the moment around Reims and their coach Will Steele, who's gone in there and has done a magnificent job. He's unbeaten in 11 games, I think it is now. And there's one key reason behind that run: A, his coaching ability, but also the form of Folarin Balogun. I copped a bit of flack the other day because I suggested that.
Sound like you.
I know, who'd have thought? Not like me to stir the pot. No. But I suggested that he is developing at a faster pace now than we can have as a backup striker. And what I mean by that is, even if we get into the Champions League next season, which I think we're fairly confident we will now, he will not want to be second choice, let alone third choice. He will want to play for someone. He's almost where Eddie was 18 months ago, but third choice. And I think he will want to move, and I think he'll have quite a lot of opportunities coming his way. And I suggested that maybe this is probably a good time for us to cash in if the right offer comes along. And I suggested between 20 and 30 million, because in my opinion, that is what he will command. And people have jumped all over me. Hey, he's worth at least 75. But Sorry, he's not. Okay, he's not. And the reason he's not is because he plays for Rams for an unfashionable side in France. He's had one breakout season. He's not a full international. And yes, he's young, etc. However, everyone knows he's a backup at Arsenal, which is the reason he's on loan. So if you think we're getting 75 million, I'm sorry, you live on another planet. And whether we can command that fee or not, we ain't getting it. So my question to you guys is simply, what would you do? Carl, where would you be going with Flo at the end of the season? What would you be looking to do? So he has signed, I think he has signed a new deal, hasn't he? So I mean, he is still technically contracted.
I would. I don't shoot the messenger, Chris. I want to see him do it in England. So, and I mean this respectfully, France and England are a different kettle of fish. So I would like him to go to a Premier League side in England and do it. You know, go to a Crystal Palace or somewhere like that and show his ability in England. And if he can do if he can do it in England, what he can do, what he's done in France, then I'll be happy and I'll keep him. And then you say to Eddie, see what he's doing. That's what you need. That's what you need to better, because he's coming for you. I'd actually sit down Eddie, and if he could do it in England, I'll have to do it now. Actually, I'll do it to Eddie now and say, do you see what Flo is doing in France? He's coming for your spot. He's coming for your spot. So you need to be better than him. So, but I do want to see Balogun do it in England, because England and France are a different kettle of fish.
But what would you say if I said to you, one of the biggest criticisms that Arsenal have had in the past 10, arguably 15 years is we don't sell well. And this is where I'm going with this. We don't sell well.
We invest a lot in kids and get fuck all for it.
Precisely. And this is my argument. I'm not sitting here saying that Flo Balogun can't be good enough for Arsenal. As anyone watching this knows, I watch a lot of French football, and he's been really good at Rams. And he's not just scored goals against Farmers. He scored goals away at PSG in the 90th minute, you know, with the composure of a player far beyond his years. He might lead Rams potentially into a European spot if they carry on. He's been brilliant, but he's developing as a man. As Will still said in that viral clip, his French is shocking, but he's embracing the culture. He's becoming, you know, he's a cult figure at Rams. My argument is, while his valuation is where it is right now, is this one of those opportunities where we could? Because I guess you would. What I'd say to you is, if he goes to Crystal Palace, like to use your example, next season, and he becomes Odson Edouard, and scores 3 goals in 25 games, he's suddenly 5 to 10 million, and that's it. Do you see where I'm going? Like,
I hear you. It's, do you know what? It's a catch-22, because let's say you do sell him 20. I don't know who in France has got that sort of money. So
he wouldn't go back to France. He'd go to Germany or Italy, I think, in my opinion. I think that's where he would probably command a fee.
Who in Italy's got that money? Like, apart from Inter and AC, who are shocking lately. Jesus Christ.
Or Napoli, if they sell Osimhen this summer, which is probably going to happen. I mean,
but will they replace him with Balogun? I don't know if that's a jump too far. But
bear in mind they got Osimhen from France, from Lille in the first place. That's what I'm thinking. But yeah,
wasn't he the bloke who replaced Pepe at Lille?
Yeah. Ironic. See,
a year too early.
But yeah, it's really hard, because he could go on and, you know, be brilliant, and then people could be saying, bloody hell, we only sold him for 30 million and now he's going to Real Madrid for 60. I mean, that's the hope. I mean, I hope his career does flourish, even if it doesn't play for us, because he just seems like someone who's tried to get on with it and stuff like that. But would we sell him? Do we have you're right, Chris, and I think you hit the nail on the head. He's not coming back to be the third striker at Arsenal. He's not.
No.
You know, he's had a taste of first team football now, playing week in, week out, and he's going to want that. He's not going back to play under 23 football. You know, he's not trying to.
Deserves that.
Yeah, and he does. You know, when Gabriel Jesus does come back, he's going to be our number 1 striker. Is Eddie going to be the number 2? Yes, he is. We've invested a lot, and Eddie's helped us a lot this season. So I don't feel like Mikel Arteta is going to then say to Eddie, you know what, Balogun's done it last season, so we're going to sell. We're going to keep him. It's really hard. I think if you get an offer, 25, 30, 20, I wouldn't, because 20 in football terms is pittance. It really is. Like, and hear me saying 20 million, but you're right. He's not a full international. He's not an international at all. I don't know who he's declared for. I mean, I know he's US. He hasn't got any USA caps. He could play for an African team. I think it's Ghana. I'm sure it's Ghana.
Is it Ghana or Nigeria? What is it? Yeah,
Nigeria. Right. Sorry, you're right. It's Nigeria, and he hasn't sort of declared for them. So I think if he does get an international cap, then maybe his price does go up a little bit more. But for now,
it could go down. It could go if he decides to play for, like you say, Nigeria or the USA. His value will go down because their international games aren't in sync with the Premier League or Europe. Indeed,
if I was him, I'd have a look at that USA front line and go, hey, that's
he could be
15
a legend.
years. He could literally be, he'll play every week for USA. They haven't got a striker, so
definitely.
If that was me, I'd be, because if you're looking at England, some bloke called Parry Dave or something, he plays every week. He's always going to play as long as Southgate's in charge, and then coming up behind him, you've got any one of the Newcastle boy, Callum Wilson, a fit Calvert. Okay, they're not what you call established strikers, but they're going to get a chance ahead of a young striker like Balogun. So yeah, but if I was him, I would be declaring for the US. I don't know whether he would, but I'm going to check his contract actually, because I think that's going to prove another side of it, isn't it? Like how long his contract runs, because that's where you have to make the decision, because there's no guarantee that, even we're all speculating on how good he's been, he might turn around to the club and say, thanks, Mikel, I've thrived on this loan, but actually, do you know what? I kind of want to have an opportunity. And I feel like Arteta's got quite a lot of Arsene Wenger values in him, that I don't think he would hold a player who he knows will thrive hostage. Do you know what I mean? I think he would let that player go if it was right for him. So yeah, it's a tough one.
25 to 30 mil. I think we have to really consider it.
Got to consider it. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Would you, Danny? Are you on the same? No,
absolutely not. Eddie is being pushed by nobody. Eddie knows that he could just do nothing for the next month and he's still going to start every single game. And Eddie hasn't got that top tier mentality. If you could put Eddie now in that Reims team, he wouldn't score those goals. I mean, sorry.
That what team?
Rams.
Fuck, Reims.
They need to learn how to spell in that bloody country. Stop spelling things one way and saying it another. So if you put Eddie in that Rams team, Chris, would he do what he has done? I mean, they're slightly different players, but
I mean, I don't know, because I genuinely think it's about streaks, because, for example, Hugo Ekitike, right, who won't be a name many people know, he was what Balogun is last season for Rams, right? He was their breakout striker. He went to PSG in the summer to essentially be Mbappe's backup, right? He's hugely talented. He was linked with Newcastle. He chose PSG because he wanted to stay in France and he wanted to develop a bigger club, let's be honest. And he's barely getting a look in. And it hasn't really worked for him in terms of his game time's down, etc. So, but if he'd have gone to Newcastle, how much did Alexander Isak go from Sociedad to Newcastle? We were linked with him. How much did he go for? 75 million?
Oh, you're not saying,
bear in mind he's been injured, but he hasn't exactly ripped it up at Newcastle, has he? And I don't get me wrong, I think he'll come good. But he was a player we link with. I just think sometimes a player goes to the right club and it works. And I feel like with Balogun, that's probably what's happened here. The other argument is you could look at someone like Colin Moani, who had a really good World Cup for France. He left France in the summer. He left Nantes and he went to Eintracht Frankfurt.
63.
And he's done brilliantly there. So, sometimes a player, I just think a Balogun, if he went somewhere like Germany or Italy, I think he would continue to score goals. I just don't know whether he would at Arsenal or not. And I don't know whether he'd want to come back. And the only other argument you could have is he can play wide. So you could arguably say, well, he could do the Martinelli thing, bring him in as one thing and maybe move him into a different position. But I don't know.
Well, Jesus isn't a striker, is he? That's not Jesus' future is not at Arsenal. I reckon Jesus will be here for maybe 3 seasons. He's got see out his contract and he'll be off. We have got nobody really coming through the youths. We got Mika Bierith, who's off in Holland, not really doing much. And then
we do have one though. Have you seen this kid? This Miles Lewis Skelly. My God, he looks a player. 16 years old. Oof.
No,
people talk about Ranieri. Oh, he played in the youth cup for Arsenal last night at Watford. He looks mustard. Anyway, carry on.
Oh, lovely. But
just want to keep.
I wouldn't take anything less than fit. What do we do with 20 million quid?
This is what I'm saying.
Nothing.
20 is nothing in football terms.
Yeah, even 30, even 40. We are financially secure that we don't have to go and sell our young players on the off chance that they might be bad. I'd be keeping him and saying, well, if you come back next season, it's between you and Eddie for backup for Jesus, and Jesus is going to be gone in 2 seasons' time, whereas you could be playing in the cup games, you could be playing in some of the Premier League games, building your career at one of the best clubs in the world. And by the way, we are the Premier League title champions at the moment, and we're going to try and do back-to-back. And you could be a part of that, sunshine.
I hear what you're saying, Danny, but you've got to remember that this guy has gone to France and playing week in, week out. And now you're going to bring it back to say, oh, you may get a Premier League game here. You may get an FA Cup game here. No one's going to want to do that. Like, it's like, so that in that sense, he's going to be looking at that thinking, I've just gone to France. I am, potentially going to outscore Mbappe. Like, give me some respect. I've got to start playing. And now you're bringing me back to say that you may play me. Nah.
And also, didn't he go to Middlesbrough and largely not do much? If I'm not mistaken, didn't he get loaned to Middlesbrough before?
Yeah.
So this is
the do in England.
Yeah,
3 goals in 18 games.
There you go.
I think he did quite well there. They were struggling that season.
Yeah, and like I say, this is not a I hate Flo Balogun party. I'm absolutely delighted for him. I think he's been brilliant. Yeah. But his contract runs until at Arsenal runs until June 30th, 2025. So here's a knowledge test for you, right? If I said to you both, what do you think his net value is right now? Not what your opinion is, what it should be. What do you actually think his net value is right now? Because I think you might be surprised when I tell you what it is.
Probably going to be something silly like 15.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not far away. It's 14 million euros. So it's about 11 million quid. Yeah, so, all these people
that's it.
No, it is. That's his current market value. That is his current market value on form.
Million a goal?
No. But all these people that are tweeting me saying, oh, I want at least 60 million. And I'm like, sorry, what? No. You can ask all you like. No one is going to pay 60 million quid for, a guy who's had a very good
unless we say to Chelsea that we're after Balogun and they bid 60 million.
700 million plus an 84-year contract. Sign his family and his.
A lot of it will come down to who, if it is his agent, Amari Hutchinson's agent. That's what we need to know. Because if he's got an idiot or is it his brother, like Anelka's brother, who had him do an endless number of stupid moves.
He's with the Elite Project Group Limited. I'm reliably informed.
Who else have
they got? They're the same.
It's the same agent as Bukayo Saka and Jadon Sancho.
He's staying.
And the three. The major players in this agency, so Saka, Sancho, Nketiah, ironically, Terran Moffi, Todd Cantwell, remember him?
Norwich.
Chuba Akpom. There's a theme developing here, former Arsenal players. Alex Iwobi.
Chopper is the top goal scorer in British football at the moment.
He is.
He is.
Doing magnificently.
Lovely
Middlesbrough.
Yeah. So Saka is the highest value client for this company. So, but yeah, I just wondered because, as I say, I really like him, and selfishly, I'd quite like to see him, stay on. I don't think you can loan him again. I guess that's my. I think we have a decision to make this summer. You either sell him or you promise him minutes.
I think you can. I think you can loan him again this season, and I'm sure in his contract he's going to have a year extension clause. So if you loan him and then you want to increase his value, you extend that, you extend the contract for another year, and then you look to sell him. But I just don't. I think that he's got to be seen and how he does it in England. I think until you see how he does it in England, I don't feel, because Middlesbrough, if you're looking at Where that in Middlesbrough, he didn't do very well. Let's be very honest, especially in the Championship. You would expect him to tear it up, but he would have developed as well. He would have been a year older, more muscle, be playing with men, a bit more physical. So yeah, I just want to see. I would love him to get a Premier League loan just to see what he can do, but I just don't feel that he comes back to Arsenal to be the third striker.
And as Will said in the chat,
Champions League.
And as Will said in the chat, he was a sub largely at Middlesbrough, so he probably wasn't backed. Whereas at Rams, he went straight into the side, and basically, if he doesn't score, Rams don't score. That's kind of how it works. So yeah, fair play to him. Fair play to him. One other thing, just before we'll do questions, I have to issue an apology, which I don't like doing, but I'm gonna do it. He's currently sunning himself in South Africa, I think I'm right in saying. But Mr. Collings, if you're watching this, which I'm sure you aren't, because you're far too big fry for us these days. I watched Newcastle against West Ham at the weekend, and I will hold my hands up and I will say Declan Rice is exactly what this Arsenal midfield could do with. I will admit that now. I didn't see it. I genuinely didn't see it. I wasn't really convinced, but I hadn't watched him up close. I thought he was absolutely brilliant against Newcastle. Everything about him is what I think this.
Cole's not happy.
When you look at Xhaka, he's been great this season, absolutely no doubt about it. But I think the idea of Xhaka sort of slowly, he is aging. I think if you can replace him with a Rice to mix with a Partey, I think that's money. I'll say, I think I'm wrong, but do you disagree, Carl? You're not so much.
I don't disagree. I feel he's overhyped. I genuinely
do agree with that. Yeah, I do agree with that.
I feel
he's English, so of course he is.
I feel like, Chris, you could probably tell me 5 people in France who does what he does. I can feel like there's someone in Germany who probably does what he does. Like, I really do think he's overhyped. I'm not saying he's not good, but I feel like he's so overhyped. And
one up the road.
Draxler, is he, Carl?
He'd never be a Julian Draxler. But what annoys me is the fact that, and Moyes is, I guess they're going to try and do what they do. Moyes come out and said, whoever gets Declan Rice is going to have to break the British transfer record. Okay, so he's got a year left in his contract. It's 12 months. His contract runs out the following year. Do I feel that if West Ham are trying to get 100 million for him, there's only one team that's going to pay 100 million for Declan Rice, and that's Chelsea. Whether he wants to go to Chelsea, I don't know. Probably he might. Declan Rice just wants to leave for Champions League football. Will Chelsea
not Chelsea then?
Yeah. So he wants to leave for a bigger club. Like, he's sick of
not Chelsea
relegation. So I don't. What annoys me is that Arsenal need to do their business in secret. Like, there is no way you would ever hear in January about a player we're going to buy in the summer. That just wouldn't happen. So this has been put out by somebody, whether it's Arsenal, whether it's Declan Rice, his team. Someone has put this out into the world. And whether it's even West Ham to start a bidding war for their players, because if Arsenal were just in for Declan Rice, then they don't have a leg to stand on. With a 12 months left in the contract, we offer 70 million. They technically should accept that. My fear is that we do get into a bidding war and Chelsea do something really stupid and pay 100 million for Declan Rice. I don't know why it was put out into the world already. I feel that Declan Rice would be a brilliant. I feel like Declan Rice would do wonders in our midfield, and he would be an understudy to. He wouldn't be an understudy. He would be a different option to Granit Xhaka. I know it's been put out into the world that Granit Xhaka might be signing a new contract. I don't believe that's really true. Like, if I'm really honest, I don't think that's very true. But I don't want to spend £100 million, as good as Declan Rice is, on a player that's only got 12 months left in their contract. We can't be taken for fools. And I'm not saying that I want to lose this player to Chelsea, like we did with Modric, the racist, by the way. Just put it there, didn't we? But do you kind of get what I mean? Like, I'm just, Arsenal do their business very, very well. And I'm proud of the way Arsenal do their business. And the fact that, West Ham have come out and said, you're going to have to break the British transfer record. That's almost putting teams on the back foot already. Now, I want to know how Declan Rice feels about that. Like, is he going to be like Mudryk? Is he going to turn to West Ham and be like, come on now, like, I've been good to you. I've been here. I've stuck here. I could have left ages ago. I stuck here. I've given my all. Please let me leave, and let me leave for a decent price, because I don't want teams to be priced out of trying to buy me. Like, and obviously, I think there's going to be 3 teams. There's going to be Man United. I think there's going to be Chelsea and Arsenal, and even Liverpool, because Liverpool's midfield.
They're not getting Bellingham.
Is ridiculous. Like,
yeah, they're not getting Bellingham if they carry on the way they are they? He's not going to go there.
No, and maybe this is might be in the shield. Maybe with all this talk about Declan Rice, so we can get Bellingham. I don't think we can get Bellingham. I don't think we can afford, because that's a person who you're talking about breaking the British transfer record for. Like, if someone said you're going to have to pay 120 million for Bellingham, people would be like, I can see it. Would I want to spend 120 million pound on Bellingham? No. But I think he goes to Man City to replace Bernardo Silva. Personally, that's what I. He does. He's going to be another 100 million pound player. 100%. Like, Borussia Dortmund are not going to let him go for 50, 60 million. There is going to be over 100 million euros at least. So we'll see. But I agree with you, Chris. I do think Declan Rice would be great in our midfield. I just don't want to spend stupid amounts of money on him.
Low key opinion, I think 70 to 75. West Ham can talk what they like with a year left on his contract. Harry Kane's always said he would never leave Spurs. As soon as Man City came sniffing, he suddenly had his head turned, didn't he? When the bid was actually there. I think you can be as loyal as you want, etc. Joe Cole said he'd never leave West Ham, didn't he? And look what happened there. I think West Ham are... I actually like West Ham. I've got nothing against them, but facts are facts. We're a bigger club. And I think the only link with the Chelsea... I think Chelsea would have had him until they spent all that money on Enzo. I just don't think they can afford to have both of them in that same midfield. It sounds like N'Golo Kante is going to go to Spain on a free in the summer, so they're obviously revamping their midfield. But I just think if we really wanted him, those negotiations would be happening now. And I can't help but think that the fact we decided to settle for Jorginho, having missed out on not just Caicedo, but let's not forget we missed out on Douglas Luiz previously as well. I feel like Edu and Mikel will be making sure that we don't make the same mistakes this year as we did 2 years ago, because we got our summer business this year done quite well, didn't we? To be fair, Jesus and that was all done quite early. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking at the options now. And I think if you go to West Ham and you slap 75 million quid on the table and say, look, he's got a year left on his contract, take it or leave it, I think he goes. Because West Ham could rebuild their squad with that, let's be honest. So, yeah, I guess we'll see. Newcastle might even have a sniff, let's be honest. Look at the money they've got. But, yeah, I just wanted to apologise to Simon because I didn't see it. One thing I will say, though, is, and I know I'm a fine one to talk, but the hairstyle, that needs to go, Ricey. It's not a good look. Anyway, just to finish up then, should we do some quick fire questiones? Because I'm sure we've got a few that have floated into the inbox.
Carl was cheeky and did a tweet saying anyone got any questions, and then a bastard sent us in questions.
Oh,
right.
What?
First one is from Loki, who is now on Twitter. Loki says, what is your marks from A to E, as in A minus, like that, at the half-time season report, Carl?
I'm going to give us an A, because there is not a single person who expected us to be sitting in first place and ahead by 5 points. No one expected this. So we are doing better than we expected, and long may it continue, because if we can keep this up, there is not a team or not a pundit, not a bookmakers that had us favourites for the title. No one had us favourites for the title. It was all Liverpool and Man City and Chelsea. And look where we are. We're doing over and above. Mikel Arteta is brilliant. I keep saying this, like, top 4 was the goal this season. No one would talk about winning the title this season, and we're doing over and above. So I think we're getting even an A+ at the moment. At halfway point, probably an A+.
Chris?
Slightly different. I go B+ purely because I think A is the pinnacle. If we win it, it's a bona fide A all the way. But yeah, very high B, stretching into A territory. And everything Carl said, nobody expects us to be where we are. I personally am still, I'm still not willing to admit that we're title favourites or whatever. I still would say that a successful season is Champions League, but there's no denying that how I felt on Saturday was not how I felt a few years ago. You know, it's the first time I've really felt like, oh, we should be winning this so we can win the title. It's the first time I've actually felt that for a long time. So, yeah, I'm sticking with a B, but I can see why people would say an A. It's definitely high on the scale for sure.
As a child of the 70s, I only do decimalisation. I don't do any of that other numbers. They don't add up to 10, all those letters. It's bullshit. So I'm going to give Arsenal an 8.5.
So that's basically a high B into A, yeah.
Don't bring any Bs into this. Get a sticky situation. Kris, sticking with you. Gooner49 on Twitter. Balogun, Nelson, Holding, Pepe, keep, loan or sell?
So off the back of our conversation previously, I'm selling Balogun if the price is right. Nelson. Yeah, I think the time has come. Despite that brief renaissance, consistently he's not. To be honest, I think you're selling all four. Actually, I love Rob Holding. I would give him I'd make him a tea lady if I could because I just love him. But I think he's at a stage of his career he has to play week in, week out. And we have to move on past the Nelson protocol, the Holding protocol, sorry. And Pepe, I mean, let's be honest, he's not coming back. We know that he's currently injured and likely to be out for the rest of the season, so he's got plenty of time to pick his next club. But yeah, he will go. He'll probably stay at Nice or he'll go to another sort of middling club in France, I would imagine. But just a word to the wise, we're probably only going to get about 15 million for him. So just bear that in mind when everyone loses their shit again at how badly we've bought and sold.
I'll ask you one question each unless you really want to answer the other person's question. So do you want the next question, Carl?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. From Highlander AFC on Twitter, do you think Charlie Patino will be in the plans next year?
Yes. I said this when the talk about Jorginho was coming in and we missed out on Cancelo. Charlie Patino will be in and around the first team next season. He has to be. He's had 2 loans. He's playing relatively well. So I feel like he will be an understudy. He definitely will be, there. He will get a couple of cup games. He'll be on the bench for a few games because even though we bought Jorginho for 12 million, that 12 million can be written off quite quickly and easily. I feel that it's a no risk buy, and if we don't play him, not too bad. I don't know whether what's his name that's gone to Crystal Palace.
Sambi
Lokonga. Yeah, I don't know if Lokonga is long for this club. I don't feel that he is I don't feel like Arteta really rates him that much because the amount of times where he could have come off the bench and given maybe Xhaka or Partey a rest, and he's just not got any sort of game time whatsoever. So yeah, I don't think Lokonga is known for this club. And is Charlie Patino better than Lokonga? Are they the same level? I feel like you at the moment you'd probably invest more time in Patino than he would Lokonga. So if Lokonga could go and get a loan somewhere else, like I would have absolutely loved him to have gone to Burnley and worked there, but it didn't work. He's gone to Crystal Palace, and will Vieira be able to nurture him? Maybe we will see. But yeah, at the moment, I think Patino is definitely going to be in and around the first team next season.
And I just very briefly add to that. I think Patino, as things stand right now, I could actually see him getting more consistent minutes than even a Smith Rowe right now, because he's got a lot of work to do to get himself back to the levels he was at with this injury, and his injuries are a little bit worrying. I think Patino is absolutely. Imagine if you could have brought him on against Everton. I think he's dynamic. He's developed. Blackpool love him. Very rare do you get a player go on loan where the the non-parent club, if you will, take to him so much that they're desperate to keep him. They're usually like, yeah, he's great, but he's not really ours. They absolutely love him at Blackpool.
They've got songs about him and all sorts. So yeah,
and he looks like he's filling out a bit as well. When he left, he was a bit skinny, wasn't he?
That's how I started. Look how that ended.
Yeah, badly.
Right,
I love him.
Well, I got you, Chris. Fred on Twitter. The manager is starting to use his bench more and more regularly. When ESR is back, in brackets, it's not unusual to get small injuries after such a big one, end brackets. Do you think he'll play on the wing, a striker, or even a Xhaka sub?
Genuinely, I'm worried about ESR. I can't lie. I am. I'm not surprised that he's got this little injury, because that is exactly what Fred said on Twitter there. Like, when somebody's coming back from a long-term injury, they do often get back to fitness and then pick up another niggle. I can speak from experience, having come back from one hip flexor injury. The other one is a pain in the ass. So I get it. Like, it's 100% like very normal because your body compensates, etc. Look up Dom for more on that. But his injury record for me is a bit of a concern. And I love him. I do. I really love ESR. What I can't sort of get out of my head is you compare him to Saka and how robust Saka is. Sometimes you get
of a beating Saka gets every game.
Yeah, exactly. The thing that worries me most about ESR is I see Jack Wilshere again. I can't shake that feeling. So much talent, so much natural ability. A local lad, fans' favourite, can't stay fit, and that's my concern. I really hope I'm wrong. As for where he's going to play, again, I think that's a real... I actually think the Odegaard role is probably the best role that he can play in. And maybe this season he just has to hold his hands up and say, look, it's not been my season. I've been injured all season. But if he can give us 20, 25 minutes, like he did when he was a sub for those games last season and came on and scored key goals at key times, if he can be like the Odegaard support role, if you will, then that's why I play him. I don't think he's a striker. And I don't know if he's... I think he's too direct to be a winger. I think he needs to play
a modern day Perry Groves.
Yeah, if you like, yeah. He's a floater, isn't he? He's not really a player who nails down a position, which ironically he probably needs to do. He's definitely not a Xhaka, by the way.
30 million, would you sell him?
God, no. Yeah, I've had my heart broken with Wilshere. I'm not having it done again.
Yeah, I think, I don't think I would at this point. I think because the trouble is, Carl, you've been to games. You know what it's like when a player comes back after so long. Imagine the ovation he's going to get next time he comes on at the Emirates. Everyone's going to be, he's going to get that ovation.
Okay,
he's only 22.
Yeah.
Okay, he gets that ovation. He gets that ovation, comes on, and then he's injured again in that game.
Well, that's my worry. I feel like...
How long do you hold on to somebody? Like I don't want to use the word injury prone because he's young and he's growing into 22. Is he still growing? Yeah, look, maybe.
Yeah.
A little bit. And the thing is, it's all muscular injuries.
Exactly. That's what worries me. And he's in the... Kieran Tierney is not trusted by Mikel Arteta because he's constantly getting little injuries, isn't he? He clearly loves him as a player and as a human, but when he's got Zinchenko available, who does he play? Because he doesn't trust Kieran Tierney. It's as simple as that. I don't think it's an ability thing. I don't think he trusts him. And I get the feeling with Arteta that if you can't prove that you're fit, 80% of the season, you don't get game time. And the best thing that can happen, I'll sum up with this. The best thing that can happen for ESR is he plays every Europa game that we've got left, however many that is, 2 or 4, however many. And he plays a key role in those European games. And he gets, a few substitute minutes between now and the end of the season.
That's how he made his name, him and Saka.
Yeah, exactly. But I love him, and I really hope I'm wrong. This is not me burying him. I love him to bits. It just worries me. There's a lot of these injuries now, and yeah, as you said, Danny, our hearts are broken with Jack. So,
right, next question for Carl is from Trini Guna on Twitter. Do you want Man City out of the league? Would you want Man City points deductions to be given this season or next season?
Do I want them at the league? I don't really care. Man City are not a club that I really have a hatred for, to be honest. If they do have a points deduction, it's got to be next season, innit? Like, let them start or like minus 15 next season. I'm sure they'll make that up.
Juventus, who are a much bigger club than Man City will ever be.
Would you care though, Carl? If would either of you care if by some miracle this appeal went and next week they came out and said, right, we're docking Man City 10 points and that's what won us the league? Would you care? Because I would not give a shit.
No, I couldn't. Put the asterisk by our name. I couldn't give a fuck. Like,
Liverpool fans don't care about the COVID asterisks, do they?
Exactly. Like, I couldn't care less. Like, I don't care like at all. So no, let us win the league by over 10 points. I couldn't care less. Like, it wouldn't be tainted because the W would still be there. Like, when you see 2022, 2023 Premier League winners, you're still going to see Arsenal there.
And we're 5 points clear as it stands anyway. So technically, you know, they're behind us as it is. So if they got docked points, they'd just be further behind us. It's not they're 5 points clear and then get 15 deducted so we go in front. We're already in front, so I wouldn't care.
Question for Chris from Zook on Twitter. Is Jorginho a Chelsea double agent?
No. I know I wasn't on the transfer pod, but I actually think it was probably quite good business what we did there. I agree with Carl. I actually would be surprised if he was at the club for more than 6 months to a year, but I think he's a sensible signing. He's better than nothing, which I know is damping the faint praise, but he didn't have a great debut, but we were also pretty terrible on Sunday. I actually think he'll probably play on Saturday. I think they'll give Partey a rest ahead of the City game. I actually think he was... I think he was a pretty good... And he's experienced. And apparently he's very good in the dressing room from what I've heard from Chelsea fans. So, yeah, I think that was probably a decent bit of business that we knew we could get done for a short-term solving of a problem for very little money.
Yes. So the next question is going to be... I thought he'll do all right. A question from Phil Macker. Carl says, can anyone explain why Spurs... Oh, it's not for Carl. Spurs still don't have a stadium sponsor. It is very weird. But Boy 10 in South Africa there said that they have got some kind of deal with the South African government to sponsor the stadium. Isn't
that being looked at, though? Isn't there... I
didn't even know it until he tweeted it and said it.
Yeah, apparently that's under... the South African government aren't very happy with it, I believe. Saying that they shouldn't be allowed to do it or something.
No, they shouldn't be. Aren't South Africa literally got like rolling blackouts across their country? So how the fuck are they going to sponsor a shit team in London when they can't even put electricity in their country? Morally, come on now. Like, put the money to your people and invest there. Like, respectfully, what are they doing? Or what? Come and visit South Africa? Like, is that sort of vibe? Like, that's I don't not just because it's Tottenham, like genuinely, even if that was us, I would look at that and be like, you've got rolling blackouts in your country because you're not providing electricity enough, not enough generators, but yet you want to come and sponsor another. That doesn't sit well with me at all.
And any true Arsenal fan knows that it's the Armitage Shanks Arena anyway, because we know it's a massive toilet, so it doesn't really matter, does it?
Boy 10 says, yes, Carl, 12 hours of electricity a day. I'm only awake 12 hours a day, so that's fine by me.
I heard on the grapevine through somebody who I genuinely can't say who they are because they're probably getting a lot of trouble. But they told me that the Nike deal that Spurs have has a very big amount of money input through that stadium to the point where it might actually end up being called the Nike Arena at some point. So, which makes me sad because I love Nike, and it would mean I couldn't buy their stuff anymore. Which would
none of us drink Holston pills, and none of us will ever use Thomas Cook.
Nope. Or Pony. Are they still a thing? Pony still a thing?
Yeah. Probably owned by JD Sports. Will asks, how much can we get for Pepe? Chris said about 15 million. Demsek says, is it King Cold in the UK? Yes.
Baltic.
0.8 aside. I've got individual temperature gauges things. So it's fucking cold. And
What's
then
What's it like in London, Carl? I'm intrigued.
At the moment, I think it's like 0 degrees. It was this morning was ridiculous, and the fog was really thick.
And does it fuck with the underground? Because obviously you're literally
on the outside sections. On the outside sections, yes. So, I think trains have to run at a reduced speed, especially the first train, just to see if there's any debris on the track. When the fog is really thick and you can't see, like trains don't have high beams like cars do, so you've got to rely on the driver's eye, and you do drive at reduced speed because you've got to be able to stop short of any sort of obstruction.
Yeah, I've always wondered that because I it'd be quite fun to see snow in the underground.
No, that's not fun. No, that means I have to work very hard. So no.
Oh no, we don't want that. We don't want that.
There you go. And Demsek has spent the week in America with Mike, with Grunegra, and he says, for Danny, or will I recover my time in Mike? Nope. No, you're absolutely done. Before we go, hand it back to you, Chris. I had a delivery yesterday, and it was a young man. You know, I often mention my mates Shazzy and Izzy, and they run Chili Bite in Huntingdon.
Where's this going?
No,
I'm thinking the same thing.
You got a young man.
No. A bloke called Shiraz came and delivered it, and then they saw me watching Twitch. And Shiraz works for Nova Valetin, I think it's in Huntingdon. And he said, "Oh, do you do Twitch?" I said, "Well, we put our podcast on." He said, "What podcast is that?" I said, "Arsenal." He went, "Oh, I'm an Arsenal fan." And so I showed him the podcast. He got his phone out and he subscribed to us on Spotify. Thank you very much, Shiraz.
Splendid.
We only need another 10 million people to do that, and we might actually make some money from this.
So basically, Shiraz, we know where you live now, and if you aren't watching, Danny knows where you live, and he will come for you, and he will kill you.
Yeah.
So,
well,
we
he
just sends
I don't know where he lives.
to Danny's house, so he has to see Danny every day with no trousers on.
With no trousers on, and nobody wants to see that. So
no, not at all.
It's 26 in New Orleans.
Just before we go,
26. No,
before we go quickly, I just want to obviously everyone's seen the earthquake in Turkey, and I think it's a horrible thing. Like,
did you hear a footballer died?
Yeah,
he was the goalkeeper of the Turkish team that got relegated last season from the top league.
Yeah, It's ridiculous. Like, I've seen some of the pictures you see, like, it's just really, really horrible. And I'd say that all our thoughts will go out to all the people in Turkey and Syria at the moment with those people. And if you are going to donate, like, make sure it's a reputable charity, because obviously there's people that could be popping up and obviously, making dubious sites to donate. So obviously, if you can do it, because I've donated today to UNICEF, because some of the pictures you see, some of the kids being pulled out of rubble, it's absolutely horrible. The place looks like a war zone, and like, you just think to yourself, that was a thriving city, like, country going about its business, and act of God, earthquake, these no fault of their own. So yeah, just to want to mention that quickly, like, thoughts and prayers definitely go out to everyone in that region, or everyone that's been affected by it.
Yeah, holiday destination as well. Who does it's just nuts.
Well, that's Sean and George booked their holiday in Turkey last summer. They're going this summer, so I doubt it. That was on the right hand side of Turkey, because Turkey is split in two, isn't it? You got the left, and then you got the Bosphorus, and then you got the right, and it's more the poor people live on the right down the bottom.
But it's like Carl said. It goes to show, though. I mean, I was looking at a feed on the Malta page the other day, and because they're such a small island, they had horrific storms this year, and like, it's obviously not on the same scale, but they had thousands of businesses destroyed. But because they're such a small island, they weren't prepared for what was coming, and they didn't have the infrastructure to be able to recover from it. So, when you see something like that happen to such a big country, and they're in a similar position where they can't look after their own, it's deeply saddening. And as Carl said, if you have got means, don't put yourself at financial risk. But if you have got a few quid and you know of a reputable charity, then do give generously. It's animals and humans are worth looking after at times like these. So, yeah, thoughts and prayers. Well said, Carl. Well said. We are going to leave it there for this week. I think we've been more than generous, giving you nearly 2 hours of our time, you freeloading bastards. But no, in all seriousness, we do appreciate you tuning in, whether that be on podcast or here live on YouTube, where you can see our beautiful faces. If that's your thing, I feel for you, but whatever. Everybody gets off in different ways. If you do enjoy the show, please do give us a like and a subscribe on the various platforms. In fact, I would actually say if you've got Twitch, you've got YouTube, and you listen to a podcast provider, like us on all of them. Okay? Stop sitting there taking advantage and give us something back. All right? Thanks. But no, in all seriousness, thank you for the support. We do appreciate it. And we do pay for Josh's dinners with the money we make every week. And boy, does he need it.
And why is he vegan tonight? Because he's moonlighting on the Highbury squad again.
Absolute scumbag, honestly.
But I will be on there on Saturday doing the Brentford post-game show.
I'm surprised he's not on like Brighton's fan podcast or something. I think he's a Brighton fan. I'm joking, Josh. Sit down. No.
Yeah, but there's only about 2 people that listen to that, isn't there? There's only about 2 Brighton fans.
Yeah, true. 3 at a push. Anyway, right. Yes, we will leave it there. So we will be back, Danny. So you're doing post game, or you're doing a preview of?
I will do a preview show for the Brentford game. Will be on the Friday night sometime, and then the post game show. I'm doing one with Sophie on the Highbury squad on Saturday afternoon. So that'll probably be about 5-6 o'clock, and then I might do a post game one for ABW later in the night. So I don't know yet.
Excellent day. And any spaces that you're doing, Carl? Have you got anything planned, or is it just a case of what happens when it happens?
I should be going to the Brentford game. Hopefully. I've got a ticket, but I've got something to do on Saturday morning. So I'm hoping that Friday night I will know if I can or not. And if not, I'll just put it on ticket exchange. I think it's worth... Danny will probably do this next time. There's been an announcement from Arsenal about the new season ticket holders, and I think it's good to probably get Femi on because he'll be affected. He's a season ticket holder. Essentially, I think what it is you get your 19 home games, and you also get the some cup games which get first refusal. But I think they want more money up front, and I think that's essentially what it is. So, is it good? Is it bad? I think they're trying to stop touts, which I think obviously trying to get tickets for Arsenal this season is near impossible. Like it's just unless you know somebody, like just trying to sign up and get a ticket, you cannot get a ticket. They just go straight away. Like they'll go on sale at 10 o'clock, and by 10:01 they're all gone. Like
you've seen the Beyonce ones. They had 500,000 people waiting on the lines, and then they all sold out almost immediately. And then some that are face value of about £100 are now on the ticket sites for £10,000.
Can't stand that woman.
Just ridiculous. Like so, I feel Arsenal at the moment just trying to get a ticket for them, and I'm sure people listening to this will be in the same boat. And I'm lucky that I kind of know 2 people that can get tickets. So that kind of makes it tiny little bit easier. And even that is a stretch as well. So
if they give a fuck hole, they do it properly, but they don't.
If the stadium's full, I get it. Jason and I were hoping to go up again this season, but I really don't think it's going to happen. We just can't get tickets like we used to.
He's giving me PTSD for Welsh things.
and I'm genuinely worried that Jeff Arsenal might have been shot to the moon. I think he might be living in a colony somewhere else.
He retweeted it. He retweeted the tweet from the pod account.
Oh, did he? Oh, splendid. Well, I'm glad. I miss Jeff.
I speak to him from time to time, like when I'm trying to hit him up for tickets as well.
I sent him a message on WhatsApp in November, and he hasn't read it yet. So
Yeah, but to be fair, I don't read your messages every week, so it's only human.
Right, take it away.
Right, we are going to wrap it up there, boys and girls. It is 10 o'clock in the UK. So, yes, as I say, do give us a like and subscribe. Thank you very much for tuning in. We appreciate it. You might not agree with half the stuff we say. You might agree with some of it. But whatever your opinions, we're all Arsenal at the end of the day. So thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you to all of you beautiful people in the chat. I see you all. Look at you there, looking all shiny. Until next week, let's hope we get a result against Brentford and get back on track ahead of those Crunch Man City games. And of course, let's hope that Spurs continue to be cunts. Till next week, thank you very much for tuning in. We appreciate you, and keep it Arsenal. Speak to you very soon. Good night.
Hashtag fuck Eddie.
Bergkamp.
Say that again.
Hashtag fuck Ellis.
Bergkamp. Perez. Wiltor makes a run ahead of it. Bergkamp suddenly changed pace through the centre. It's Bergkamp. That's magnificent. The move, and then this, which left Davies